Rev up your engines!
Well, we lost the Vietnam War almost 50 years ago. Now they're invading us. Vietnam's Vinfast car company says they're going to actually be making cars in the United States and Germany in the future. They say they're going to make electronic crossover SUVs, yeah, like everybody else. That's like the dream vehicle, right? This model's called the Vinfast VF7. It's cool looking, right? Of course, they're not making them yet in the United States. They're planning on making them here. Now, Vinfast says that they're going to make electric cars and electric buses here in the United States. They say they're going to start making them here in the United States by 2024, and meanwhile they're going to ship cars from Vietnam to the United States and sell them under the Vinfast name. Now Vinfast says they're going to start selling electric vehicles in Europe come this year, and that they're planning on building a factory in Germany too. Now this Vinfast company has an interesting idea. They want to build cars as close as possible to their market. That's why for Europe they want to build them in Germany. For the United States they want to build them in the United States. Vinfast states the era of shipping cars around the world is over. COVID-19 knocked that out. Now you're going to build them as close as possible to your market so people can get them faster and so there won't be supply chain problems. Check it out. This Canadian Solo EV is cool, and they're actually making them. It's a company called Electromechania. They have the three-wheel Solo electric vehicle. And now they have three of them instead of just one. One of them is a Solo Cargo. They modified sort of the cargo thing in the back so you could use it for deliveries like Uber food and stuff. And they have the Solo O2 Concept. You could even get that in a convertible version. Now these things go for $18,200, so they're not outrageously expensive. And unlike that Elia, the guy who was going to make the three-wheel car, I made a video about it years ago out in California. He never made any except for some prototypes. Then he says, I'm going to make electric versions now. Yeah, he's talking through his hat. Well, the Canadians are actually building the things. Now, you can charge them on 110 volts. They go to 0 to 85% in 2.5 hours, so it doesn't take that long if you're charging it at home. And the top speed, 80 miles an hour. That's plenty fast enough for anybody. And it's not some cheesy thing here. Got a backup camera, LED headlights, power disc brakes, torque limiting stability control because it's three-wheeled, so it'll be stable, and a 2-year full vehicle warranty. And of course, it's eco-friendly, being small like that. Interesting city commuter vehicle. That's the idea that the Elia guy came up with, but he actually never built any. He was just one of those guys taking money from investors, and then he's so far in a hole, he never built anything and just claimed every year he's going to do something. And this year, he was claiming he's going to make electric vehicles. I kind of doubt it. He never made the gasoline ones, and these other Canadians have been building these things now for a couple of years. You can actually get them. I think the guy's dead in the water to the Elia myself. Rex Starnick says, family vehicle recommendation. I'm looking for something to replace my '08 Escalade in the future. I don't mind used. I want something that'll last longer than I will. I'm a family of 5 in the military. I move a lot. Could you help me out? What do you want? Gas mileage? It all depends. Kind of an all-round if you want a family SUV thing. Look at the Toyota Highlanders. They're good enough. They get pretty decent gas mileage for a big vehicle. Now, you have been driving a big old Cadillac Escalade, right? It's a gas hog. If you don't mind gas hogs, the Toyota Sequoias are phenomenal vehicles, but they're tremendous gas hogs, just like the Toyota Tundra pickup trucks. They're great pickup trucks, but they're tremendous gas hogs. But if you want something that's going to last as long as you are, I would just strictly look at Toyotas, because they're the best made. You might want to look at the 4Runners. They're pretty big. They're made in Japan. They're solid. They can last a really long time. I'm assuming you're looking big, because you had an Escalade. So if you got something big like that, that's the size you're probably looking at. Just look at the Toyotas. And the Lexuses, if you can afford them, they cost a lot more. They're just fancy Toyotas, same company, you know. Ozzy777 says, I got a 2013 Honda CRZ Automatic. Has a ticking noise. I recently bought it with 67,000 miles and a clean title. Now, I don't have any maintenance records, so I don't know what the previous owners did, if they adjusted the valves, when they changed the oil. Some people say this sounds normal. Some people say the valves need adjusting. What do you think? Well, he's got a video going here, and I can hear it. Yes, it needs the valves adjusted. As I said many times, Hondas have mechanically adjustable valves. Yes, they always are a little bit louder than the hydraulics. That's why a lot of cars use hydraulic lifters. The hydraulics are much quieter. You don't get as much noise. Of course, on the other hand, when they get to have 150, 200,000 miles, a lot of times the hydraulic lifters break, then you got to replace them, and it costs a fortune. But yes, get your valves adjusted by a good mechanic. Luckily, you only got a 4-cylinder engine, so it's not too bad. If you got a V6, it's a pain in the butt because you got to take the manifold off. You get to the 3 back ones, and it's going to cost you a lot of money getting the valves adjusted. But on a 4, get the valves adjusted. It's not like it's really going to hurt anything, because I've seen people with Hondas hit 190, 200,000 and never had the valves adjusted, and they clattered a little, but they still ran down the road. But I'd say get your valves adjusted now. You bought it, it's probably got 70-something thousand miles and more now. Do it every 70,000 miles at least, and then, give you peace of mind that they're adjusted correctly, because they are mechanical. They're little screws with nuts. You got to loosen the nuts and then adjust them and tighten them. It's an old design, but, as long as you adjust them, it works fine. Now, here's an interesting idea. Toyota says they're going to remanufacture their cars up to 3 times in England. Why throw the cars away? They're going to remanufacture them. Now, if you think about it, the United States Army has been doing that a long time with the Abrams tanks. They haven't built the new Abrams tanks in decades. They just get the old ones, they refurbish them, update them, and then ship them back out again. They're trying this out in England first. The Japanese are smart. They test things out in England first. They don't want to ruin it in the American market if it's bad. They don't care about the English, so they tested out fuel injection systems, all kinds of stuff in England before they brought them to the United States. And this is for their little mobility sub-brand Quinto. Now, a lot of these are going to be leased ones for businesses. So after the first lease is up, they bring the cars in, and then they refurbish them for the second use, and then they said they'll do the same thing for the third use, and they'll refurbish them again. Well, it makes sense. Why throw something away when it's perfectly good vehicle needs some work? Figuring a way to avoid waste and bypass the environmental impact of just throwing them in a junkyard. Now, Toyota's bringing this out, and they're also going to plan on doing it with their electric vehicles there in England. Their BZ4X, they say, will have 90% of its usable capacity after 10 years. Hey, regular Toyota cars are pretty much like that anyways. I drive them when they're 20, 30 years old, and they're still going perfectly fine. So it kind of makes sense that they just keep refurbishing them for people. They're going to start it with their commercial division of these cars, selling them to businesses, and then refurbishing it if it works. Hey, if the businesses are happy, they'll continue to go on with Toyota. Keep fixing the stuff you make it so it's fixable so you don't have to throw it away. ADF13 says, my parents have an '05 Honda Element with an odd transmission issue. It's an '05, it's got 330,000 miles. It works good, but a few times it'll slip when you're driving. After you restart the vehicle, it ran fine. It didn't do it again until recently. It'd slip, and after the vehicle's restarted, it'd go back to normal. It's done this 2 or 3 times the past few days. What's causing this? Well, 330,000 miles in an '05, it's almost 20 years old. Yeah, old age is causing it. Rebuilding those things is a fortune. A Honda automatic transmission, it's going to cost you anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 to rebuild that transmission. I don't know if you want to spend that kind of money on a vehicle. If it's an excellent vehicle, otherwise, you might want to do that. But if you do that, find a guy who does nothing but Hondas. There's a few guys in North America, that's all they do. Get one of theirs, send them yours to rebuild, or send it as an exchange or buy one of the rebuild, because they know what they're doing. Don't just go to some clown transmission rebuilding shop and they say they're going to do it. Odds are they won't. 33% of the time, those transmission shops screw up and don't rebuild it right the first time. So that I wouldn't even try. There is one other possibility. You say you turn it off, turn it back on, it stops doing it. If you have a bad transmission control module, TCM, it can do the same thing. It's old enough that that could be the problem. I had a guy with a Honda had that same problem, and he just went to a junkyard, bought a used TCM, I put it in, away he went, never did it again. So it could be the transmission module starting to go out. It can happen. I've seen it happen on Hondas. Dixon says, hey, I've been watching your videos for some time now. I have a 2005 Toyota Matrix I bought in 2008 with 118,000 miles on it. It now has well over 1 million miles on it. I still drive it daily with basic maintenance. My main question is, the mileage stopped at 299,000 miles. I never replaced it because I had no clue how it works. Does the computer keep up with the miles to know the actual mileage? I know the actual mileage because my oil changes and how much gasoline I use. If the only thing that's broken is the odometer head itself, and it's stuck at 299,999, and your speedometer's still working, tells you how fast you're going, then the computer will know how many miles you're going. It has to get the data coming from the speed sensor on the transmission. And if your speedometer's working, it's getting that data. So get a scan tool, check it out, see what the mileage is. It should show the actual mileage, because as long as the speedometer's working, it's getting that data, and it'll count it, even though the mechanical part that counts your 299,999, that's supposed to go to 300,000. That part's broken. So yeah, it should show you the actual mileage inside. You ought to contact Toyota. They probably give you a free new car, you know? They don't make Matrix anymore. They give you a Toyota Corolla hatchback. Same thing. King Cash says, I got a Honda Accord. the check engine light will come on, I clear the codes, then it comes again after a short time. What could be the problem? One, realize that all the codes that you get with a little simple scan tool like that, generally there's a whole bunch of things that can make any code trip. You gotta give me the actual code. Then I can analyze it better. Because there's hundreds of different codes, meaning different things. And machines break down pattern. They have pattern failure, especially the Japanese vehicles, because they're pretty well made. So if one breaks down one way, generally, eventually, they all break the same way. So if you give me the code number, I can give you a pretty good idea of what's going on. And you erase it, but then it comes back. Give me the code. Hopefully it's something like evap leak, and you might just need a new gasket, but get the code. If like it's P0321, tell me that. Then I can analyze it better. Got to have that information. It's still relatively generic, but like I said, things break in terms of patterns. And I've been working on cars for 53 years, so I've seen a lot of the patterns, and I give you a pretty good educated guess. Over the years, that my customers would laugh. They call me on the phone, try this, could be that, and I say, wow, you fixed my car over the phone. Yeah? Now I'm fixing it over the internet, a little bit higher level. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.